Okay, now looking at it underneath the vehicle, this is the oil drain, the oil pan itself right here. This is the oil drain plug. And as you can see, there's a little gasket on there. You want to be careful when you take this off that you don't lose that gasket, or if you're replacing the gasket, depending on what you're doing. All right, the next thing is the blue piece right here is the oil filter, and we're going to be removing that filter as well. All right, I would recommend putting something down on the ground just in case you spill a little bit of oil so you don't make a mess in your garage or your driveway. All right, now we're going to take our socket and put it on here, and we know it's an 18 millimeter. So we're going to put our 18 millimeter on here. We're going to turn it to the off position, and then we're going to break it loose. All right, now we're going to break it loose. Okay, we're going to break our drain plug loose. We are then going to move our bucket over like this. And then you can come up here, make sure you have a rag. We're going to take this drain plug out. Watch you don't drop that washer. Make sure your bucket is underneath, so we're going to catch all the oil in the bucket. And then we'll take this out nice and slowly. Just like that. And now we'll let that oil drain out. Once it finishes draining out, then we'll come back up underneath here, and we're going to take out this filter right here. Now the one that I told you I like to use the best is this one right here. It goes onto the filter. Just like that. It goes on just like this onto the filter itself. We'll put our extension for our ratchet in there, and we'll take that out. All right, but we're going to let this drain out here first, and once it finishes draining, then we'll come right back. Okay, all right, so it's still draining right there. As you can see, we're going to let that drain, but we're going to break this filter loose right here. So we have our cap on it like that. We have our extension into it just like this. And now we're going to just rotate that loose. And you'll see it starts to dig into it. Okay, and once it starts to crack loose a little bit, where you can rotate it by hand, we take this off just like this. We're going to pull this over just like that. We're going to let the both of them drain at the same time into this bucket. All right, so we'll let them drain out for a little while now. Take this filter off, and we'll let it drain out thoroughly. Be careful, you don't want the filter to fall and make a mess. So we're going to rotate it nice and easy. And you want to make sure when you take this filter off that the gasket comes down with it. I'll show you in a second what I mean. You see how that gasket is on top of the filter? I'll show you. That gasket right there. Make sure that that gasket comes down, because sometimes that gasket will stick up inside here. And if that's the case, then you would just need to reach up here with your hand. Right up here. Let's see where you can see this. You need to reach up here with your hand and take that gasket off. But as you can see, the gasket did come off. All right, so we're going to let these all drain out. Once they finish draining out, then we'll come back and we'll finish it up. Okay, now once we have the filter and we're ready to put it back up, we're going to put a little clean oil on this area right up in here so that we can lubricate this so it has a nice surface to touch up to on the metal part of the engine. Now remember, if you took the old filter down and that gasket didn't come off, it's very important that you reach up there and you take that filter gasket off. If that filter gasket's up there, it's going to definitely create a mess for you, because when you start it, there's going to be oil everywhere. So make sure you take the old oil filter ring off the engine. All right, so now we're going to take a little bit of clean motor oil, and I normally don't do this, but in this particular case I'm going to. we're going to pour a little bit of oil inside the filter, just like this. You don't really have to do this, but in this particular case I'm going to do it because this filter goes straight up and it doesn't really make a mess when I put it back up there. All right, now we're going to take some of the clean motor oil and we're going to take it and we're going to put it on the seal, just like this. And now let's go underneath the car and put it back on. Okay, now we have our oil drain plug. We're going to put the oil drain plug in. Make sure that your gasket is in good condition. And this one, as you can see, is in perfect condition, but we're going to change it anyway. You just take this gasket off, we'll grab our new gasket, and then we're going to put it back on. Now we're going to clean off this area right here with a rag. Just like that. Okay. Let's get our new gasket. We'll come right back. Okay. Here comes our new gasket. Now we're going to take this oil drain plug and we're going to screw it in by hand. As you can see, it finished draining. We're going to screw this drain plug back in here by hand as far as it can go. Let's grab our ratchet. Let's snug that in there. Our drain plug. Now you want to be very careful because you're screwing this drain plug and tightening it up into aluminum, and you don't want to take a chance on cracking the aluminum. So we're just going to snug this down and just go a little bit more. Okay, nice and tight. We're going to take a rag and we're going to wipe off any residual oil that's underneath there so it's nice and dry. All right, now we're going to come up underneath here and we're going to put our filter back in. Okay, so now we're going to look underneath here. We're going to come up with a rag and we're going to clean off any of that oil that's up inside there to put our new one on, our new filter. So let's clean that out a little bit. Okay, it's nice and clean. We'll take our new filter and we're going to screw our new filter back in there. We're going to clean all the residual oil off of the filter itself. And tighten it up as tight as you can by hand. We're going to wipe any oil off that's on here. And now we'll go up top and we'll finish it off. Just make sure you clean off all the oil here. And we did our oil drain plug already. Alright, let's go up top and let's just finish this off. Okay, so like I explained to you before, make sure you use the correct motor oil. This calls for 020 full synthetic. Make sure you use the right oil. If you use the wrong oil, you could possibly damage the engine. So just make sure you have the correct oil. We are going to take a funnel and put a funnel in here. As much as you think you're going to be able to pour the oil into that little hole right there without making a mess, believe me, you're going to make a mess. Put a funnel in there just to play it safe. Now we looked it up in the manual and this almost takes 4 quarts of oil or 3.78 liters of oil, but we're going to put in about 3 3/4 quarts and we're going to add as needed. So first thing we're going to do now is we're going to pour it in nice and slowly. That funnel out and we will start the vehicle up just to make sure that it's full. Make sure you have a rag underneath the bottom of it. You don't want to drip oil all over the engine. Make sure you put your oil cap back on and tighten it. Okay, then we're going to pull our dipstick out just like this. And I just want to explain to you where the oil level is supposed to be. We wipe the stick off, and as you can see, this is your oil stick, and it should be in this range right up in here. You see those cross marks right there? It should be right up in that range right there. All right, so we're going to put it back in here. Okay, we're just going to let it run for a couple of maybe 30 seconds or so just to get the oil circulating. And then once the oil circulates through, we're going to shut it off. We'll go back outside and then we'll check our oil level to make sure it's full, and we'll make sure we have no leaks underneath the bottom. Okay, now we're going to take our dipstick out. We're going to wipe it down to make sure it's nice and clean. And we're going to put it back in. Let's take it out. And we have, it's down about just touching on the bottom. So we are going to add a little bit more oil to it. Remember, it's always better to add a little bit more than to have it overfilled and have to take it out. All right, so we're going to put a little more in there now. Now after we've had it running, we can top it off until it's right up to that full mark. Okay, we'll just pull the stick out. Let's wipe off whatever oil is on there so we have a nice clean reading. We'll push the stick back in, let it sit for a second, make sure it's down all the way, pull it back out. Let's take a look at it. And as you can see, it's exactly up to the full mark. All right, we'll put our stick back in, take our funnel out, make sure we don't make a mess, take our cap, screw our cap back on. Let's go down the bottom, make sure we have no leaks, and this job will be all done. Okay, as you can see, it's nice and dry. Nice and dry on the drain plug right there. Alright, so that's it. Oil change is all done. As you can see, it is fairly simple. Just make sure, look underneath the vehicle, make sure you have no leaks at all underneath there, dry it all off, and you should be good to go. Make sure your oil cap is tight, and that's it. Job is done. But before we let this car go, we have to go inside and we have to reset the oil maintenance reminder light. Let's go inside, let's reset the oil light, and then this job is done and out the door. Okay, and as you can see, there's the oil wrench light right up there, and you can see that the oil life is at 10%. Now the way you reset this one is you come up underneath here to this little button here, the trip reset button here. You turn the key to the on position, the vehicle is not running. You press this button and hold it and watch the dashboard. We're on trip A, remember. We're just going to hold it about 10-15 seconds. You'll notice the dashboard starts to flash. Take your finger off the button, then reapply it on the button again and hold it. And it resets to 100%. Now when you start the vehicle up, it's reset to 100%, and you can see the oil life, the oil wrench or oil maintenance light is now off.